it's been nice to have somebody else like help you hold the boundary.
Like share it.
Yeah. And that way it's like not even so much I'm the bad guy. It's like, this is just the rule.
And you're not going to ruffle my feathers, and I'm not going to fixate on this, and you're not going to take over my brain space for the rest of the afternoon. That is quite enough. I have a fabulous life to go live.
Nothing is going to stand in the way of their protection, so I'll hold any boundary and like hold it firm.
Yeah. You can call me a Karen. Yeah. I don't care what you call me. That person calls me mom, and that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Hi.
Hello. And welcome to EpiPod.
Sarah is a mom to 2 little boys with food allergies.
And Danielle has navigated life-threatening allergies her entire life.
Living with an invisible health condition is so isolating.
The fear and the anxiety.
Trying to cover it up so you don't affect anybody else.
Especially your kids.
Phew.
Sound familiar?
Join us on the couch and take a load off with people who just get it.
We're so glad you're here.
Welcome back to EpiPod.
Presented by Larissa's Kitchen.
Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Danielle.
How are you?
I feel a lot better today.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like I'm in a better mood. I got a big work project done, and so I'm feeling just less stressed, which is good.
More space on your plate again, hopefully?
Yes. I mean, just a little, but it's enough.
You'll take a millimeter.
That's right. And yeah, I mean, as far as any kind of like dosing for Graham, like allergy life things, he's doing really well. Like, it's funny. I always feel like when we're at these really small amounts and increasing just like still in the little baby amounts, he has more of these like small reactions to the dose. And then once we get up to what seems scarier, it's like, he's good now. And I think it's
interesting.
I think it's more just the science working. Like, I think it's his body. Okay. It was getting used to it. It stumbled a little bit, but now like, it's running,
okay.
And like we're doing, I mean, knock on wood, right?
Right.
Like, but
it's a big improvement from where you were even earlier this month.
Yes. We've been holding at 2.5 peanuts for him
That's like a small handful of peanuts.
I know. It's crazy. And it's been 3 or 4 days now at that level, and like no sign, nothing is going on. So I think that too is like lowered my stress a little bit. I'm not like super anxious every time we're handing him something. And this would have been perfect for the siblings episode, but we've been starting to give Ethan a little dose too. Like we put
the same amount?
Because I've been noticing as he's getting older that even though it's like you want to be like, dude,
this is medicine.
Yeah. And also like, you got to be so lucky. Like, you should feel so lucky that you're not having to do these crazy like treatment foods and all of that. But to him, as like the little brother, he's just sitting there going like,
I can get a treat.
Right. Graham's getting all this attention, right? Graham, eat this. Graham, do this. Graham, how's your belly look? How does your throat feel? And it's like, Ethan's not getting asked those questions. And it hit me the other day when he was going up they were going up the stairs, and I was like, Graham, is your throat still feeling okay? Or, something casual like that. And Graham was like, yeah. And Ethan said, and my throat's feeling good. And I was like,
oh my gosh, that is the most precious thing in the world.
It was, but it also broke my heart.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, he wants someone to check on him.
Totally.
And I get that. I totally get that. I was a second, like I was a middle child, like I get that. And so I've started just making more of an effort in that way with dosing, and making sure to be like, hey, Ethan, how you feeling? And you can tell it's like filling his cup a little bit.
Oh my gosh. This is so cute, imagining his little face.
I know.
Okay, Sarah, also, do you think that it could be helpful for Graham even subconsciously? Like, I don't have to eat these weird things. It's like, oh, it's snack time. And we both get to have a snack while we watch our afternoon show.
Yeah, I do. I think it's a win-win, like
Amazing.
all around. So plus, like, he's getting that exposure, which we have found a way to give Ethan the exposures to different foods, away from Graham. But it's like, it doesn't hurt to give him a few more peanuts, like, let's make sure he never gets a peanut allergy.
We don't want to build this into the budget for a second, kid.
No, thank you. So yeah, I'm feeling overall better today. I mean, it's a day by day, but I'm feeling pretty good. How about you?
I'm so happy that you're feeling better, first of all. Like, you just walking in today and seeing you, it was like a total 180 and energy shift. Like, your lights are all on. Like, Sarah is here as Sarah. And as like Mom Sarah and Food Allergy Mom Sarah and 9 to 5 Sarah, like all of your versions just seem like volume is back up, and I'm happy to see that as your friend.
Thank you.
I am doing great. I love getting out of the house and putting on clothes that are not meant to be pajamas. So every time I put on makeup, I like have to double take because I'm like, whoa. That's me.
Yeah. Oh, hello again.
Yeah. I believe the expression that I used with you earlier was I looked like a toad that had been run over. And that's so true. I was not well.
It cannot be true.
No, Sarah, I was not okay. I was looking at myself this morning being like, well, we've let it all go, I guess.
I think there are lower levels to drop. I'm just saying, like,
that's depressing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's true. It's like, I never thought that I could let myself go the way I did once, like, you're in those like postpartum days, like after you have kids, and it's just like, yeah, it is so bad. I mean, you're so tired, and yeah, but I hear you.
I will say, yeah, I guess I had a back surgery a couple of years ago.
Oh, that you would probably, yeah, that
yeah, but I was in so much pain, and I was so like just upset that I had to be going through this in my 20s that, I don't really, I just think I've put that away in a different filing cabinet. Yeah. I don't remember what I looked like.
Yeah, well. Either way, you look beautiful.
Thank you. Anyways, I feel like most of the reason I'm doing well is because I have clothing on.
Yeah, we're glad you showed up in clothing today.
Me too. I'm sure everybody watching
well, maybe
the
not
video.
Everybody. There might be some people out there be like, well,
I don't know about that.
This is a family-friendly show.
Of course, yes. Clothing necessary, required, all of the above. Dosing. I was talking to my therapist about this yesterday, where I still have like so many things to work on with her and goals that we have worked on for my future and to sort of get me back to where I was before the pandemic, whatever. So I'm certainly not like on the top of the hill, having beat all of my demons, essentially my allergy demons. But I feel like I'm genuinely just doing so much better overall. Like the dose is the dose. I'm able to work during my dose. Whereas before I would like not open my computer, not open my phone. Was only able to read, like any little thing would trigger me. And it was too much for me to handle. And now I'm like, okay, like I'm good after 5-10 minutes of just like, I take my dose, I sit down. I'm usually like building my to-do list for the day. And then like, if the phone rings, like when you called me today, I answer it. Like if I have an email to answer, I will. And I've found myself, I'm able to get all of my busy work and my very tedious, quiet work done in that first dosing hour.
So productive.
Such a huge change, because before it would be like the full 2 hours and then I would start in on emails, and it's like, well, there's your whole day.
It feels like a waste.
Yeah. And whereas this, it's just like, it's a part of the puzzle. I'm already working bippity boppity.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. And I'm doing so much better. Like I'm willing to like run the dog out to go to the bathroom and run up the 3 flights of stairs back to the apartment after I'm out of my dosing window. Like, therefore I go. Whereas before I was like, well, I don't want to like run several flights of stairs until it's been like 4 hours, because like I would just so many mental gymnastics in my brain.
And even if it was like stuff that your doctor didn't say, like you were almost making it up,
oh my
but
gosh.
like it made you feel better at the time.
No,
but you've gotten past that.
It was like so many safety behaviors, like definitely giving OCD energy.
A topic we need to discuss
we
on
do.
here.
We definitely, we get a lot of DMs about that.
Right.
So we will do that in the future. But yeah, I feel like I am slowly but surely making some strides and just chipping away at getting back to where I used to be.
Well, hurrah.
Yeah.
Yay, I'm so happy for you.
This actually goes with, thank you. This actually goes with today's topic,
which is
boundaries, hard boundaries specifically.
And how do you make them?
Yeah.
And like, how do you determine what they are? And then how do you like stick to them?
Exactly. How do you actually do them?
Yeah. And there's so many different types of boundaries too. It's like, yeah, probably what you're about to say, but then there's also boundaries with like, you know, family members, or like where you go or what you say. I mean, there's so many different elements.
Boundaries are so different for each person, but I have felt myself often using the language of like, you're being too much, or you're being too dramatic, or that you're just being difficult, or you're all of these like words that sometimes I have been called by people, and then I've adopted them as the reality. And through therapy, we've really talked through of like, you're not being dramatic. Like, you have an immune system that doesn't function like other people's immune systems. Like, you don't want to go into the restaurant with the peanut shells, or where the wait staff historically does not take it seriously. That's not you being dramatic or too much or difficult or less than. That's just a boundary.
Yeah.
And you're smart, you are wise, like you're gonna have a great day because you have a boundary. Yeah. So one of the boundaries that I've recently uncovered that was put to the test yesterday is
we're proud to be supported by Larissa's Kitchen, also known as LK Meat Snacks, the first and only meat snack option that is certified free from the top 9 allergens, uses 100% grass-fed beef and free-range poultry, and contains 0 sugar. So Danielle, like, these are not only free from the allergens, they're also really healthy and really yummy. I just ate one. Surprise, surprise. I'm always eating a meat stick.
You're always eating them.
But like every time I try them, I'm like, that's a good flavor. Wait, no, that's my favorite. Like they are very good. I like the texture and like the flavor. They do not sacrifice on the flavor.
This is a true statement. Your favorite Larissa's Kitchen meat stick is your last one that you most recently tried.
That's absolutely true.
Okay, so from their chili crisp inspired chicken sticks to their jalapeno heat seeker beef stick, they never sacrifice on big, bold flavors. Check them out all on their website at larissaskitchen.com. That is LORISSAS kitchen.com. Oh my gosh, and did you hear they're in Sprouts now?
I'm so excited because it's not just a thing you have to like online order. You can walk into your local Sprouts and pick up Larissa's Kitchen.
Pop them in your cart on the go.
And then, into your purse, which I always have one. Obsessed. So it's like, we've got it.
Obsessed. I was talking about this with my therapist too, but I was telling her I had a really like social couple of weeks that were very in the creator space, a lot of other podcasters, a lot of other TikTok people. Like my allergy was coming up very naturally in conversation. Like, oh, what do you do? Oh, you're in content and podcasting. Like, okay, what's your topic? Oh, food allergies. So it was coming up very organically, but I was so exhausted after just a few days. And I met with her and she's like, okay, how many more days of these like lots of events and things do you have? And I was like, honestly, like another week of them. And she's like, great, here's your homework. You're not going to let this happen anymore. So she was telling me like, it's not just you. This is very common where when somebody, it can be a stranger, it can be a family member, it can be your friend's new boyfriend. They're trying to relate to you, but they hear, oh, you have a severe food allergy.
Yeah.
And then they feel the need to tell you whatever experience that they have of that. I was on an airplane and somebody went into anaphylactic shock. We thought they were going to die. Oh, one time in 4th grade, I was eating peanuts and the girl behind me had to get taken out for the nurse because her face started blowing up. Oh, one time my whatever. And I was telling my therapist, like, I am really starting to tread water a lot better now. I'm keeping my head above water. I'm able to dose. I'm able to live my life. I'm able to work hard, but I cannot take on other people's stories or trauma. Even like this stranger, I'm just here trying to order a glass of wine and the bartender is telling me these terrible, traumatic, horrific, my worst nightmare. And it dunks me down underwater again, even if very briefly, even if just 5 minutes where I need to take a deep breath and have a reset, it donks me down. Is donk a word? It is now.
I like donk. I'm going to use it.
It donks me down.
Dunks ya? Donks ya? Both work.
We should make sure that's not a bad word.
Yeah.
Urban Dictionary.
I feel like that's probably an Urban Dictionary bad word.
Okay. Well, what isn't these days?
That's okay. Yeah. I'm sure we could. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I was telling her like, gosh, I keep experiencing this. And she's like, that's not just you. Like it's born out of people trying to relate to you. Like they're trying to signal, I know that what you're saying is true. Honestly, I know that you're not blowing this out of proportion. I can be around you. Like I'm a safe person because I have seen something terrible happen. And I know that like, it's not a little deal. It's a big deal. But oftentimes it's told in a joke and a lot of traumatic things happen. Maybe even the person like dying or going to the hospital. And it's too much. Even talking about it now, even though I'm the one saying those words, makes me have the biggest pit in my stomach. And so she was just like, great. Like your homework is you're great with boundaries. Let's make this one. you're not going to accept hearing that information anymore. And I was like, I'm great at shutting people down. Like, I'm a 32-year-old woman who has been on the dating apps for almost a decade. I'm going to be good at this. I'm going to be great at this. And she's like, great. So I basically decided like my languaging was going to be, excuse me, I'm going to interrupt you right there. Are you about to tell me something like something terrible happening to somebody, or somebody almost dying, or to the hospital, having a bad reaction? They'll nod their head, or yeah. And then, okay, hold on. Sorry. I know I'm interrupting you. Please don't tell me that story. It's actually really hard for somebody who lives this every day to hear those sort of traumatic, dangerous things. So thank you for recognizing that you understand how severe this is, but that's not helpful for me. That's the long version. You can just be like, hey, I don't want to hear that. That's not helpful. I'm actually going to go rejoin my friends if it's the bartender. Mm-hmm. But if you're like having a big conversation with somebody, like maybe a future employer, or you're at a new job and it's your cubicle buddy, like you need to have the long version. So I was like, great, that's my homework. Okay. So yesterday I do my dose. I'm like, run some errands, do some work. And I'm like, it's not 106 in Texas. It's only 96. Like, I'll go to the pool. So I go down to the pool. I'm reading on my little Kindle. I'm like, look at you in the sun, not worrying about getting any sort of residual things, having such a good allergy day. And this guy comes like stomping through. He's black t-shirt, black shorts, black sneakers, and a chain and black sunglasses. I thought he was a security guard. Mm-hmm. I thought, is the pool closed? And I didn't read like the email from the apartment complex today. And so he was like, hey, like I wanted to introduce myself to you. And I was like, oh, okay. Are you security? And he was like, no. So it was like, it was a meet cute. I appreciate being approached in person. He was like trying to flirt with me. I was not interested, but he essentially asked me like, what do you do? Podcasting content, same story. He starts to tell me, and I give him the short version. I'm like, hey, say what I just said. I give him the short script. That's actually not really helpful. Oh yeah, I totally understand. So, well, I'll finish it up. He acts out his little brother needing to go to the hospital because I thought he was going to die, acts out giving himself the EpiPen, his face, the neck. I'm just like, I was so stunned in the moment.
That he didn't listen to your boundary.
That he bulldozed over I was not cute and nice about it. I was like, can you please stop? Like, please don't tell me any sort of scary, traumatic story right now. That's really not helpful for me. I think that was one sentence thing. He did it anyways, but it was clear. And I was so shocked that I just kept sitting there, like just wanting to go back to my book. And as I walked away, I was like, I had been donked under. I'm like trudging up the stairs back to my apartment. Eventually I'm still donked under. I should stop using that word. I'm pretty sure that's a bad word. I was feeling some type of way about it. I thought to myself, wow, even as somebody with really good boundary
skills.
Yeah, boundary skill. Like I'm really good at standing up for myself. I'm very vocal. I don't care what people think about me. I even had a hard time when I was bulldozed over, not being like, hey, if I could go back in time, I would have let him finish, honestly, because he had already started. I'm already triggered. Let him finish and be like, hey, can I ask you a question now? Flirty. Can I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. Why, when I said, please don't tell me that story, you go on to do that? Like, I'm assuming you're going to try and ask me for my number, maybe take me on a date. Like, why would you be doing that? Just saying yes anyways when I've just said no.
Right.
What the is wrong with you?
Yeah.
I stopped myself.
Yeah. For sure though. So I mean, I don't know this guy. He sounds like he's not socially,
I think he is. I think he was totally social normal because this happened to me like so many times, not with the boundary thing.
Yeah.
But like sweet people, grandmas, coworkers, whatever. This is across the board. People who mean so well, even some of my best friends.
Yeah.
They'll see something happen, allergy related, and be like, oh my gosh, I just saw this.
Yes.
And I was talking to my therapist about this, and she's like, in no other medical, you're not being like, oh, I just, my mom just got diagnosed with cancer. She didn't. Mom, if you're watching, this is just anecdotal.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just an example. my mom just got diagnosed with cancer. And the person you're telling this to does not say, oh, well, you know, my uncle died a terrible death. All of his organs shut down one by one and he died a terrible death.
Although I think sometimes people do.
Really?
Yes. I remember I saw like a TikTok or something where it was a cancer patient saying like all of the horrible things that people have said to her. And she listed things like this, that it's like very common. And I think it goes back to exactly what you said, that like people are not even doing it to harm.
No.
It's usually, the sweetest, nicest people.
Or they're trying to relate to you.
Right. Because, they just want you to know either that like, yes, I understand, or yes, I've been there too, or just really like trying to continue on with the conversation because maybe you've brought that into the conversation, so they want to have something to say back.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly think that I'm guilty of that sometimes. Maybe not with medical things, but with just things in general. I'm always looking to, and I think even from my background being in like journalism, in order to get somebody to talk to you more, you try to relate to them, right? You try to get on their level. That's what I always did in an interview. I would sit there and say like, I totally get that. I was, share a little quick anecdote. This happened to me too. Like, and I felt this way. Is that kind of how you felt too? That's a good way to get them to like speak on their emotions. Or now again, this is like job versus natural conversation, but I do think that is kind of a natural thing for people to do. It's not okay. I'm not saying like it's a good thing for people to do, but I definitely agree that like people aren't meaning to be malicious or to harm you.
But also they don't, I guess, like we didn't grow up learning how to empathize well enough. Like this reminds me of that Brene Brown interview where she's like the difference between empathy.
I don't know if I've seen this.
Oh my gosh, we should link it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something about like a goat being in a hole, which I know sounds random, but
but she's so great.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
But talking about like
read her book.
What is empathy, and like when somebody is sharing something with you, even your own family member, like it could be your spouse, like what is a true empathetic response?
Yeah.
Versus all of the other ways that it goes awry. So
I think the bulldozing part, though, to me is the most shocking. I don't think it's shocking that he started to tell you the story. What's shocking to me and like just feels like he doesn't know social boundaries is that like you asked him firmly, politely enough, but firmly to stop, and he did not. Like he is not, you did not give him consent to continue. And he did anyway, which is alarming because if he cannot do that in conversation, what else is he bulldozing past? Like this is not a character I would like to be around.
Oh, no. I was like, this tells me everything I need to know about you.
Right. Like,
which is,
bye-bye.
Yeah. Allergies forever. That's like one of the superpowers.
Yeah. One thing I want to ask you, and that when you were talking, I was like, I need this. Like I needed like a course. Tell me how much I owe you for, for this online course. For like, not giving a shit what people think when you say it. I am so bad at that. I mean, and here's the thing, certain things I am not. I am a sure enough of myself person.
Yeah, you're so sure of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I very much I know what I want and what I need, and I can advocate for my kids. And like, there are some things that I am like firm and good at. But when it comes to I don't know, maybe it's like the politeness or like I want to make sure that I'm like helping people or doing like making other people feel good. Like that's the part that I'm bad at. Like when you were saying like, okay, give the short version, like, no, I don't want to hear that conversation. Thanks. It triggers me. Like that to me
gives you the cold sweats.
Oh yes. Like I
love you.
I am shaking. Like I am seriously like, oh gosh, like they're going to think I'm rude and like, be offended. And then they're going to think about that for the next 3 days because they didn't mean to hurt my feelings or make me upset. And like, I'm just constantly worried about that.
I spiral in that way but in a different regard. Like when it's somebody who I love, somebody who's a part of my life, a good friend, like whatever, I will hyperfixate and ruminate and play things over and over and over again in my head if I feel like I've hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah.
Or I've acted in a way that is not in congruence with my character. And I feel ashamed with the way that I acted. And which really just means I need to be like, hey, I feel weird about this. I don't know if you did, but I do.
Yeah.
And I want to apologize. Like that's me and that's not me. I'm sorry. I won't do that again.
Even that is such a good script. Like I can use that, like in my head, I'm like already thinking like, God, why didn't I do that when I did this? Like, you know, cause you're so right that you can be like a really good person and know like your morals and your values, what you stand on. Like you can be a good human for most of the time. And then you can do something really shitty and you're like,
all the time,
what the hell is wrong with me? Like, I'm not that person.
Totally.
I have done that before.
Me
or
too.
said something, like I said something in a work meeting the other day that I was like, it wasn't like nasty or rude, but it was kind of like felt braggy, at least to me. And I was like, I have not stopped thinking about that. Truly, like I have not stopped thinking about it. And I will say I kind of did that. I went back to the person. I was like, I just want to let you know like that I didn't mean it to come out the way that I think it probably came off, and I didn't mean to like steal your thunder. I'm so sorry. And she was like, oh no, I didn't think that at all. You know,
that's what I was going to say.
fine.
9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
You're just putting yourself out of your own misery. Now, if you're the person who's always running back and be like,
That's weird.
People won't want to be your friend.
No.
You're just going to be cut and dry about it.
Yes.
But 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, I'm so sorry. Like that happened yesterday and I don't even remember that conversation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you're talking about, but like, thank you for apologizing. You have nothing to apologize for. Anyways, you want to go to Slurpee? Like,
it's Slurpee. When's the last time you got a Slurpee?
Honestly, like not since kindergarten, but it's top of mind because Icy invited me to an event this weekend.
Oh, how fun.
They gave me 10 Icy vouchers. I don't know how I'm going to drink 10 Icies.
You need to give them away.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm going to be at this music festival being like, you get an Icy and you get an Icy.
You're Oprah Carring the Icy coupons.
Yeah, they have like, there's one of the sponsors of the music festival.
Oh,
Anyways.
Okay.
Back to how do we get here? How do we get out? Okay. So yeah, back to like the script or like the online course you were saying.
Oh yes.
I feel like it's a couple of things. The first is the way that I was raised. Like my dad is my best friend, first of all. He is the most hilarious man on the planet Earth.
When I see your TikToks with him, I'm like, God, I want to meet that guy.
He's so funny. Everybody on the internet calls him Matthew McConaughey's long lost dad.
He feels like that.
Yeah, he like walks around in his bathrobe with like his long white hair and like he was born and raised like oil fields of Texas, Odessa vibes. So he has a real thick accent and he just has like the tallest tails, but he is kind of like gives a little bit of like bad Santa energy. Like he'll say things that are very off the cuff and you're like, whoa. And I think just being raised around him and being so close to him as a friend as well has really given me a sense of like, this is who I am. You're either going to think it's hilarious or you're not my type of people. And if you're not my type of people, let's save each other some time.
Right. That's okay.
Yeah.
Right. Moving on.
I genuinely think that's the way that he has lived his life. Just very true to himself and very loud. Like there is nothing that is not in bold about my dad.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the way I am too.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people would say the same about you.
Yeah.
That like,
and I'm not everybody's cup of tea for sure.
Yeah. But the fact that you don't, nobody is. But the fact that you don't really seem to care or like it doesn't like bother you is what's so refreshing, because when you said that, I was like, see, but that's again, like part of my problem is that I know not everyone's going to like me. And in my like logical brain, I'm like, well, that's okay. But in the other side of my brain, I'm like, but I want everybody to like me. Why don't they like me? And what don't they like about me? Because can I change that?
Totally.
Like,
and I think that's we're like living inside each other's brains at this point, which means that the podcast is gelling, folks. But I was just about to say...
I don't know why that's giving me such giggles.
Honestly, better these tears than other tears.
Okay, good.
Where was I? Forgot.
We are unhinged.
I know. It's water, I promise.
I know. Whoa.
Wait, what were we saying?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I was saying that you're saying that your dad doesn't care, or like he's such a bold person.
Oh, yes. You're like, and what can I change about it?
Yeah.
I don't want to change that about me. Like I, for better or for worse, think very highly of myself. Yeah. I am my biggest cheerleader. I can also be my own biggest mean girl. And I've talked about that too. Like harshest critic. I can be like fairly evil to myself. I have no grace for myself, but in the same breath and on the other side of the coin, I think I am so pretty, genuinely. I think I'm hilarious. I love my style. Like, even if I don't like something about myself that day, like, oh my gosh, I'm PMSing, and like, I know I'm not 3 months pregnant, but could I be? Like, what is going on here? It's giving Grinch. It's giving the Sneetches. Like, what's happening? Even if there's something about myself that I don't like, I'll like put on a outfit and I'm like, you are so cute and funny. Like, look how you dressed up today. So I think, again, that goes back to the way I was raised. Like, and more so on my mom's side, my dad has always been very hard on all of his kids. I have half siblings, and that's something that I've talked about with my sister before. Like, he has incredibly high standards for us. My mom, she definitely still has high standards for me, but she literally, like, not that I could do no wrong. I certainly did a lot wrong, and she let me know. But I don't know, like, the confidence that was instilled in me as from childhood on, of just like, you are the most sparkly, best, hardest working version of you. And that's all that matters. Like, she believed in me so fiercely. She has always been such an intense cheerleader. Like, she thinks that I should have won like 5 Oscars by now. And I'm like, I haven't been in a play since I was 18 years old. So
and do you win Oscars for plays?
Definitely not in high school. No,
like in general, I don't think so. I think Oscars are movies.
That's so true.
Tonys are plays. Yeah.
Musicals.
Oh,
something like that.
Okay. Well, we'll look it up.
Don't quote me, Tony. But yeah, I'm really grateful.
Is part of it.
Yeah, that I was raised with such a good balance of that, like such high standards. Like, he humbled me a lot with his high standards. Yeah. But my mom was just, and not delusionally, like, it wasn't just like I'd blow up a balloon and like tie it by myself and she's like, oh, that was amazing. No, it was like I would work really hard at something and she was always cheering me on. Yeah. So present. And so I think that has transferred to me as an adult, where it was really easy once I moved out of the house to be like, okay, I'm really good at being a good cheerleader for myself. Yeah. Like, I think so highly of myself, and I think that's so important for everyone. It is. Kids and adults. But if you walk around the world as the main character, like, I don't care what happens. It could be a terrible day, but it's a hilarious story. Yeah. Like, yeah.
I love that so much. And I think it's good for parents to hear. Like, I'm taking notes, you know, it's like, I feel like I do some of those things, or I try to with my boys, you know, certainly being their biggest cheerleader and like boosting them up, but also giving them like independence to make their own mistakes and, you know, find their own confidence in that way. But I always love hearing when I meet like fantastic people, like, okay, well, tell me about how you grew up, because sometimes it's from like the most amazing parents that did the right thing. And then sometimes it's the opposite, right? Totally. Like, sometimes people grow into these like amazing humans because they had such a rough life and they like figured it out usually. And then there was somebody to kind of guide them. Yeah. But
I think that like, it also comes out of, and this like third and final piece, I promise, but I think I am, I've been bulldozed a lot. Like, whether it was like bullies, like I had it was a group of 5 boys who honestly just also thought very highly of me. They had crushes on me, but they were ruthless. Middle school girls, 7th grade mean girls, there is no one worse than that, except for like maybe Stalin. Like, I don't know. And not even him. Like, even myself, like the other side of the coin, the mean girl coin. And I feel like with boundaries, whether it's food allergy or dating or just walking around in general, it's sort of like, okay, I've had quite enough of that. Like, that's my girl. You cannot step on her anymore. Well, even if it's me who's stepping on me, like, that's quite enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Just laying down the law.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good. And you're right. It probably comes from that like lived experience of having been pushed down at times where you're just like, I'm tired of this.
I genuinely think part of it is food allergies, because I have a shorter rope. I'm starving at an event. I have been told no by 2 restaurants this week. The butcher was joking about, oh, there's some nuts in this turkey, and I decided not to buy it. Like, things have happened this week, as they do to every allergy person, and it is Friday afternoon, and anybody trying to steamroll me, I have the attitude of, that's quite enough. That is quite enough. And you're not going to ruffle my feathers, and I'm not going to fixate on this, and you're not going to take over my brain space for the rest of the afternoon. That is quite enough. I have a fabulous life to go live. Goodbye. You will not get my light or my energy anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as a parent, it's become easier for me in some ways to say no or to hold boundaries because it's not for me anymore, right? Like, I mean, it is, but it's also like, it's easier for me to say, we can't do this because of my son. Now, is that like in therapy, they'd be like, Sarah, we still need to work on this. Because I'm like passing it off. But like still, I think it has become a lot easier in that regard, that it's not you saying, well, this is for me. It's like, no, this is for my child.
It's way easier to be protective or be firm when it affects somebody else because we're so good at being like, it's okay. Like I can take it, but not them. Even if it's like a friend, a child, anybody.
Totally.
I can take it, but like, don't do that to them.
And then like the second piece of that is just like, when you become a parent, nothing else matters, right? Like nothing else matters in the world but your child. So like you'll do any and everything to make sure that they're safe and happy and all of the above. So I think it's a little, you find more like muster inside of you to just be like, nothing is going to stand in the way of their protection, so I'll hold any boundary and like hold it firm.
Yeah. You can call me a Karen. Yeah. I don't care what you call me. That person calls me mom, and that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Good night.
Yep.
Good night, everybody.
I think the harder part for me, and I bet what people listening are probably like would nod their head here, is with family or like really close friends. That again, like you said earlier, like you care more about hurting their feelings or making them upset, not necessarily care enough to not hold the boundary, because at the end of the day, you should probably hold it with them more than anybody else.
I feel like with family, like boundaries don't really exist. Like you don't have to act the way you do when you're out in the world, because they can think you're a psycho, or you can act like a cuckoo banana. Yeah. And like, sorry, we're still tied together. Yeah. Like, we are still under this roof together.
I think that I get what you're saying, but like for me, I feel like it's easier sometimes to hold a boundary with someone I'm like not going to see again than
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Wait, what? I'm confused.
Like, so for me, like, yes, I'm always tied to like my mom or my sister or like the in-laws or whatever, but because I'm tied to them, it's am harder. More nervous to like mangle any kind of relationship.
Yes. We're saying the same thing.
Yes. Yeah. So I find it to be like the trickiest bit. Yeah. And now it depends on how your closeness level, right? Like with my mom and my sister, like from the beginning, I was just like, this is the way it's going to be.
And they're like, great.
And they're like, great, cool.
Tell me what I can do.
Right. And it just was fine. And even if they had said like, you're being ridiculous, I'd be like, well, cool. I just won't come over, or whatever. Like, but it would be, cause we have a very close relationship now with like beyond that, still within the family, but like beyond like the tightest people that I have relationships with. I find that's the challenge. Like they're still in your family unit, but they're not the ones that you can be like so real with. You still kind of have to put on a little bit of airs, like, the aunts and uncles on the other side, those sort of people. That has been a little bit of a challenge for me.
Totally.
One tip I will say that I started to do, again, I'm not saying this is 100% healthy, but it has worked for me in that I push off some of the boundary holding to somebody else. Like I give it to somebody else, meaning like I'll tell Mark's mom that like, I need you to like have a conversation with the aunts and the uncles. Like I need you to hold that boundary and say like, oh, you're coming to my house. You can't bring that dish. Graham's allergic. Like we're not having anything like that at the Thanksgiving lunch today. So it's not me necessarily saying it. Now I'll like double confirm or like if she didn't feel comfortable, I would do it anyway. But I'm just saying like, it's been nice to have somebody else like help you hold the boundary.
Like share it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that way it's like not even so much I'm the bad guy. It's like, this is just the rule, right? Like when you're coming to my house, this is how it's going to be. So like if there's a situation out there that you can do that with, it has worked in my experience. That's awesome. to let somebody else kind of like take some of the holding the line.
Yeah. I feel like boundaries just in general they're going to be different for everybody. And even like I might need a boundary that you don't need.
Totally. Yeah.
And so I think for those of y'all listening, I would just encourage you to take some time and really notice over the next, I don't know, week, maybe 2 weeks, and really like start a note in your phone or write it down at the end of every day of like, what are things that are making you feel icky? Like what are things that are really beating you down? And then like, gosh, do I need to set a boundary around this? Because would that take my load off so that I'm able to be a better whatever, show up better for myself, show up better for my family? But okay, so we've talked about
I was going to
the
say
boundary that I'm holding.
Yeah.
We're talking about the friends and family boundary. What are some other boundaries that you feel like you've had to hold or that are like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think
pressing upon you?
I think we'll get into this in one of the next couple episodes, but I will say with like school coming up for a lot of people, and again, we'll have a whole episode on this.
A whole back to school 504 episode.
Yes. Yeah. But I will say that is one area that I realized was going to cause me a lot of like nervousness. We're really excited to tell you about this next sponsor. TeleRx ensures you always have access to an EpiPen. Effortlessly request a prescription online and order an EpiPen for next day delivery. The 100% online process takes minutes and is free of videos, photos, and lengthy forms. And it gets better, Danielle. There are no membership fees or insurance complications.
Rest assured, TeleRx ships temperature-sensitive medications in insulated packaging. I am obsessed with that. The Texas heat.
You have to have it.
You have to have it. Explore their selection of over 100 medicines for next day delivery and use the code EPIPOD to take 20% off. TeleRx is on a mission to make access to essential medicines simple, convenient, and affordable. Visit telerx.club/EpiPod.
And anxiety, just totally letting your kid go. And it's like, he's been in school, like little daycares and stuff, but they've been really small. And then going into like a public school, it felt really scary, really new, really different. And I was feeling like, kind of like you said, I took inventory of like my thoughts going into that. And I was like, I am not, like, I need to find what my boundaries are on this, like where I can be like, it's kind of like, if they kind of mess this up, it's okay. But like the boundaries where I'm like, no, we won't be doing that. You know, kind of like my hard lines in the sand. And so like a few of them are, and I've had people message me recently about this, like hand washing and stuff in schools. Like there's a lot of pushback from schools for good reason, right? Like it's really hard to get 20 kids to go wash their hand. Like that will take 10 minutes. And then now we've taken out of like,
that's 10 minutes of recess.
Right. Or instruction time or whatever else. And so again, you have to find your own kind of what works for you. But like I had a little bit of pushback on that. Like, well, we can't have, and again, I understood, but also I'm like, there are certain times where like I have to hold this boundary. Like it's going in the 504, we have to do this. Other times, so let's just use wipes and like we wipe our hands, or it'll just be making sure that like Graham washes his hands extra on this time. But like, you know, there was a time when I said like, we have to, after this time, like I need the class to wash their hands. Like that's a boundary I'm holding. It was, I think they do snack in the classroom. I'm trying to remember what it was, dialing back like a year ago. But yeah, I think the plan was to do snack in the classroom, and then they were just going to like continue, like go to like free centers and play right after. And snack wasn't anything, like they can bring
whatever they want.
Yeah. The class itself is nut free, but like, I mean, people at his table were having
goldfish, everything.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, but then they all share crayons and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, that's it. If they're going to free centers next, like that seems like a time where like I can hold my boundary and say, but I for his safety, like you have to go, the class needs to go wash their hands. And it happened. Whereas when they're coming in from recess, which is after lunch, and I get it's kind of the same thing, but like more time has passed, they've been touching other things. They just use a wipe, like coming back in.
Nice.
So we can go into that more in the school episode, but like things like that, when it comes to like big monumental kind of shifts in what you're doing with your food allergy kids. Like, I think, like you said, taking inventory of like how you're feeling, what's going to make you feel the most nervous, and then deciding like what your boundary is in that regard, and like what you're not going to come up from, you know, like you're going to say like, this is the way it's going to have to be. And really for us in a public school setting, it's like, well, the 504 is that boundary, right? Like you can write that in paper, everybody signs off on it, and it's like a legal document.
Yeah.
So a different type of boundary. It's not like a script that you're saying necessarily, but it's like a somewhere where you're not going to budge with like an institution more so than it is like a single person on person conversation.
Yeah. I will also say like boundaries are so awesome and so helpful, but as someone who's really good at them, I have a hard time getting out of them too. Like I'm so good at them, I can't get out. So like, I think that's why like the pandemic was so hard for me, is because I set up a whole slew of boundaries that I never had even thought of. Because one, COVID sort of like mixed together with the allergy, like just health aware, obsessed, scanning, all the things. But I also knew like you cannot have a reaction because you'll have to go to the hospital, and the whole hospital, we have like floating hospitals and floating morgues because the city is so overrun. There are like COVID patients in the hallways. They're at capacity. They're over capacity. You can't have an accident. So my boundaries that before were a little loosey-goosey became really not loosey-goosey and really made my life so small. So like getting out of a boundary is really hard.
Yeah.
Once I'm in it. And that's, I think, why I'm having to do so much work on that now. But another example is like with treatment. Like, I'm not there yet. My doctor has not given me like, okay, you're good with cross-contamination or whatever yet. But when he does, going to an ice cream shop, I mean, then I'll have to do my tree nuts too. But let's say I'm cross-contamination safe for my peanuts and my tree nuts. It will take a lot to go into an ice cream shop and not give them the spiel, and to use the ice cream in the back and the fresh scoops, and to ask to speak to the manager, and like all of these systems that I have in place now, because those are non-negotiables, and that's my boundary. I don't care what the manager thinks of me. If he's a yahoo, whatever, I'll go get a pint of ice cream and probably eat the whole thing at home after, like whatever. So I think it's worth saying like boundaries are so awesome, but they also, if not taken with care, like they can make your life too small.
Yeah.
If you can't get out of them. Like
the ones that you set for yourself.
Yes. Like I stand behind all of the boundaries that I set for myself during COVID. My family used to always have trail mix out, ate allergens all the time. My mom would sprinkle pine nuts on the asparagus my whole life. And during COVID, I moved home. We were in lockdown. Allergens out of the house. Peanut butter went in a plastic baggie in the bottom drawer. It all changed. And now we're no longer in COVID. I'm in treatment. And I just am very aware that my boundaries are very inflexible to get out of.
Yeah. And they kind of need to change.
Totally.
Based on
all the work that I'm doing.
Yeah. The work that you're doing, the world that is now, you know,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot that goes into that. But you recognizing that, I think, is a really good thing. And I think something that's going to, a lot of people are going to relate to, because again, like even kids growing out of something or maybe passing a food challenge or whatever, like you said, like it's really hard to like decide, okay, this was a boundary at one time. It doesn't have to be now. And in order for me to live like a bigger, better life, I need to break down that boundary wall.
I need to walk my talk.
Yeah.
I really have experienced that with food challenges, because I think it was like 12 or 13 food challenges. My whole life, it was peanut, tree nut, seed, legume, all of them. And then I challenged flaxseed. Sesame was already in my diet. Like sunflower butter. Oh my God. I thought I was anaphylactic to sunflower seeds.
Yeah.
A different allergist told me, stay away from them, treat them like peanuts.
Right.
So I still to this day, the only thing that I regularly eat is almond butter. I had it right before I came here. Like I'm obsessed with Barney butter.
Yeah,
shout out.
So good.
But I still, like, I need to make a list. You can hold me to this. I'll hold you to finding a therapist. You hold me to this.
That's right.
I want to make a list of all of the things that I food challenged and build them back into my diet the way that I have with almond butter. Because now if a coffee shop tells me oh, we only have almond in the building.
Right.
I don't care. They could accidentally make me a almond latte. I don't care. I'll be like, this doesn't taste normal, but I won't care.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't put that back in my diet, or hadn't made myself make that a part of my weekly, daily life, I wouldn't have felt that way. I'm not comfortable around sunflower seeds. I'm not comfortable around pine nuts. I'm not comfortable around, I'm like all of these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, boundaries are amazing, but I think that if I had, with the caveat of like, we don't do that, like we do not have nuts in the house while we're in the middle of a top tier global pandemic and your local hospital is at capacity.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now like, let's go back to the way you lived your life your first 26 years.
Yeah.
You had Milky Ways, which are meat contained. Like, actually probably wouldn't do that until I'm cleared, but yeah, just like have boundaries with the purpose of making your life bigger, and be aware that they can accidentally make your life smaller if you do not keep them in check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another big boundary, like personal boundary, which again could be an entire other episode, but when it comes to social media, I know you've spoken about this. In fact, like when we had our kind of mental health episode, we talked a little bit about this, but like, I just talked with a friend of mine who had, I think I shared this, that she had like a heart issue. Like she got so stressed and so much anxiety she was holding on to, that she's like a mom of 3 and young and like had a heart attack. And one of the things she did after the doctor was basically like, you're going to die if you don't change anything.
You don't get this under control.
And one of the things she did was turn off social media for like a long time. Like, I mean, at least like a full month she didn't get on.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously there were plenty of other steps that she took to like reduce the load and the stress in her life. But I feel like particularly when we're talking about and thinking about allergies, I know you've talked about it a lot,
gosh,
like a big trigger for you.
Huge trigger, and now a huge boundary.
Yeah.
I'm pretty clear on them now.
Yeah. I'm so glad. I need to be better about it, but I have started unfollowing or muting certain accounts that like are just more inflammatory or more, like, I don't even know that they're necessarily meaning to scare. I think it's coming from their own anxieties, right? Like they're worried about even like walking, or I don't know, like taking a walk on the trail and they see like a wrapper or a seed or something.
Totally.
And I'm like, and they post about it like it's this big deal. And I'm not saying it's not to them. It might be huge, or maybe I don't know their child.
Now that's your worry.
Yes.
And before you loved walking on the trail,
Right.
and that was the place where you had no worries.
Right. And even if it didn't cause me worry, it's just the constant berating of like seeing that stuff over and over again. Like even if I'm not taking on their anxiety about that, even if I can kind of not roll my eyes, but kind of be like, oh, she needs a therapist. Like that's actually like not the end of the world. And again, unless you have like some special case your child does. But
you are doubling
Yeah.
the amount. You've spent your whole day scanning.
Yeah.
Now you're seeing what
Other people
everybody
scanning.
else scanned and recorded that day too.
Yep.
And our brains are not wired for that.
No.
We're not even wired for the scanning part. Like it's too much.
It is.
With food allergy, boundaries, and social media, I cannot get off of social media. It is my full-time job.
Right.
I am self-employed. If I were to get off of social media, I would have to cancel all my contracts with clients, stop being a content creator, and probably no more show. I'm not getting off of social media because of this, but you can have boundaries without it. I will say, I think we're going to look at social media the way that now we look at cigarettes. Like, how did you not know that poofing cigarettes all day long wasn't killing you from the inside out, Grandma? Like, hello? Like,
but they really didn't.
They didn't.
In fact, I think there was like some advertisements and things that were saying
it's
like, it's healthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think that my grandkids one day will look back and be like, I can't believe that
You guys just endlessly scrolled all night.
Yeah. I think that it's really damaging.
Yeah.
I think that it's, for me personally, I've never struggled with ADHD or ADD or never whatever. I cannot watch a TV show without also scrolling on my phone.
Yeah. I can't sit at a stoplight without double checking. Did somebody text me?
Totally. I think it's just,
It's sad.
So detrimental to our health.
Yeah.
And it's stealing our joy. It's stealing our creativity.
Yes.
It's stealing so much from us. So whether you're a food allergy person or not, may I encourage you to just be more boundaried with social in general. As somebody who loves social, I shared this on my personal Instagram, but it's an app called, I believe it's App Blocker. We can also put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
But you can set hours. And it's wild to me.
Yeah.
Like I cannot open any social media app until 9:30 a.m. and it shuts off at 7 p.m. And the amount of times that I reach for it, and it calculates it. Like you've reached for this out. That's a huge window. That's still the whole day.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like 20 times. I'm like, what? Like I'll pick it up off the nightstand, do it. And I'm like, what are you doing? You literally just did this 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So that's been really helpful, just social media in general.
I'll have to link the one. Mark uses one too. I don't know if it's the same thing, but he loves it. So I'll have to find the name.
It's
and
so
link
nice.
that.
Yeah. And this can also control your desktop too. So you can't like create loopholes.
Yeah.
To like go on Instagram on your desktop, or if like email is your thing or LinkedIn is your thing, like just being more cognizant and being really aware of like, how are you spending your life? You get one precious and wild life. Would you like to spend it watching somebody else live theirs? I don't want to spend my life looking at a screen.
Yeah.
I want to go out and do something with it.
Yeah.
So getting off of my soapbox, but with food allergies and boundaries, personally, I do not follow any allergy accounts. If I do, you are muted, except for you. You are literally only food allergy content I see is from you.
Okay.
Yeah. I cannot handle it. I do not want it unless you are my doctor, my MD, or my therapist. I have no interest in your opinion. Comments can be really damaging for me.
Yeah.
And that's like sometimes I'll turn them off, but for the most part, I leave them on.
Just ignore them.
Yeah. Or it's just like, don't read a lot of them, especially if it's like a video that really takes off. I'm like, do I want to go on a walk? Or like, do you want to read this book? Or like read all these people's thoughts about me? Or like their stories, whatever.
And there are some trolls on the internet.
And you were saying earlier, like the inflammatory language or like the rapper on the trail or whatever.
Yeah.
I think we all need to take a lot of like, that was her choice to post that.
Yeah.
But it's your responsibility to not support that type of sensationalism.
Yeah.
And like that type of inflammatory language. So like, you say mute. I feel like we're the Sour Patch Kids. First they're sour, then they're sweet. Here's sour. Don't support accounts that make food allergies into these like stigma, scary, trauma, fear mongering. Do not support that.
Yeah.
That's damaging.
Yeah.
Get that out of that. We do not need that in our community. It is serious and it is life-threatening, but it does not need to be serious and life-threatening all day, every day.
I think though, like cigarettes, like we talked about earlier, it's almost like it's addicting, not just social media, but like, you know, you can't look away from a train crash type of situation, car crash on the interstate. It's like the same thing. I feel like in our brains, there's something like, well, we're stressed and anxious. So when we see, like we feed on other people's stress and anxiety, even if we know it's unhealthy, like sometimes you're like, you get on these Facebook groups, which are the devil, like the worst. I mean, and I get it. Some people are like, well, I only go if I need to like search for a product. Okay, but that's not true. You're going to go search for a product. You're going to see 5 other people's opinions on that product. Now you're questioning it. You know, like there's all of these things. Instead, like finding an account you trust that you feel good supporting, have a good relationship with your allergist that you feel like you can call and ask questions to. I mean, there are other, find an allergy bestie that you guys can chit chat about things. And like, I'm not saying never talk about the down and the ugly.
Oh my gosh, no.
We talk about it all the time.
We cry about it all the time.
Right. I mean, and you and I share hard things, traumatic things on this podcast, and people are listening. So they might be like, well, what are you guys, you're saying don't do it, but you're doing it. It's like, there's a difference though.
There's such a difference. And also as somebody who works in social media, you're rewarded by the algorithms. The more, oh my God, the more sensationalized it is.
Yeah.
So that's why these people, like especially the bigger allergy accounts sometimes can like put up, or they're not even allergy accounts. Sometimes it's just like somebody who's putting up something like, and then I accidentally ate a nut and then, and it's just like, that's really damaging. That is so unhelpful.
Yeah.
but I know that you're going to get rewarded by the platform because it seems dangerous and scary.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we wrap it up on, like people we know, people we don't. We were talking earlier about like, you know, what's that show? Kids say the damnedest things. People say the damnedest things.
Yep.
Where like, oh, I would die if I couldn't have Nutella. I would just die.
Yes.
Or do you ever, this is one of like, I get this so often. I'm like, are you good? Do you ever just want to like eat a Reese's and just be like, and just stab yourself in the leg with an EpiPen? And I'm like,
no.
Never once had that thought.
No. I get a lot of, I would die without. I get a lot of, I could never do what you do. Bitch, you would. You would have to. You have no choice.
Yeah.
You know, like that always gets me. Or like, you know, God made you stronger than me. I'm like, I roll with a capital.
I know.
It is
actually,
just,
I'm quite tired from being strong.
Right. I mean, and it's like, again, these things are not said to be like rude or mean, but it's like, let's all take a deep breath before we just like vomit words out of our mouth. Okay.
Or even when it's like a joke.
Yeah.
That's my least favorite because it's not funny at all to me. Actually, it's my life. But men, when they're like, oh, you have a nut allergy? Are you allergic to these nuts?
Oh, gross. Oh, I've never had anybody say that.
The amount of times that I have had that said to me.
Are you serious?
Oh my God. I would say like.
Gag.
Yeah, I would say multiple times a month.
Oh.
These nuts, pointing to their crotch. If you're not watching.
It's not funny.
No, it's not funny.
But it is like so obscene and ridiculous and dumb and douchey that I'm like, cannot help but just like kind of giggle about it because it's so insane.
Yeah. So here is you cannot control what other people are going to say to you.
No, you cannot.
So here's my boundary or my script for that. What an interesting thing to say. That's really interesting. That's a really interesting thing to say to me. Anyways, I'm going to go get another drink. It was nice to meet you.
Or not. But yeah.
It can literally just give them the stop in their tracks enough. You're not, because the inclination is to turn into an allergy encyclopedia and explain to them and educate them and maybe share with them or be funny and flirty or just let it like roll over you and ignore it or laugh back. Ha ha ha. Anyways, no.
Yep.
I have no interest. I'm not your mother, so I'm not going to scold you and tell you that was ridiculous. I'm also not a doctor.
Yeah.
I don't have the time and patience to educate you. I'm not interested in being a teacher. But I'm also like not just going to ignore it. Wow, that's a really interesting thing to say to me.
Right.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
I love that. Yeah. Or like, just be like, like almost like just be like, that was a weird thing to say.
Literally. What a weird thing to say.
Huh. Yeah. Like almost just be like, wow, you're in like, it makes them feel dumb. But like as they should. You're rubbing off on me. I'm being mean.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. It's like, that's my girl.
Yeah.
And you can't talk to her that way.
Yeah. No,
not under my watch. I have a photo of myself when I think I was probably like 5 or 6 on my phone. Here, I'll show it to you now. Okay. And when I'm feeling extra not boundaried or just like extra messed with. Now I like can't figure out how to change it. I'll show you after.
Yeah.
I pop that over. You know how you can like interchange your backgrounds? I put it on that one. If I'm being extra mean to myself.
It's a photo of yourself.
It's a photo of myself. I'm 6 years old. I'm standing in this like purple matching ski suit. I have this like wild curly, like a little bit red tinged hair. At the time I was like a little strawberry. And I'm standing in this field of snow with my tongue out. And I'm like giving the camera like the ultimate amount of Danielle energy.
Sass.
Yeah. And like whenever a guy makes me feel less than because I'm a burden on a date, which won't last long, I will leave. I have in the past. Or I'm feeling left out leaving from an event because I can't go to the bar after the event because I'm too hungry. I have to go home and eat. Like whatever it is, if I'm feeling low, less boundaried, it's not allergy related, I just like being mean to myself. I pop that back on. You can't talk to her that way. You cannot talk to my girl that way. Good night.
I love that. That's such a good idea. I'm going to do that.
Do it.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Or like put it on your like makeup.
Yeah.
Vanity. I have another one. It's like a photo of the one that's on the makeup vanity.
I love that.
Yeah.
Aw. I think that was a great way to wrap it up. Let's head to question and answers.
You're holding a boundary. I love it.
Yes. That's so true. I am.
Let's do it.
And they're brought to you by Inchbug, our favorite waterproof label company. We put these on everything and they can go through the dishwasher. They just stay put and they have customizable labels for allergies, which is perfect if you're sending your kid to school here pretty soon.
Yeah. Also, they gave us a special little deal for you all. It's 25% off if you check out with the code EPIPOD25. It's linked in our bio. You can get a little extra labels with the extra savings.
Yes. And yeah, slap them on everything. They're perfect. Okay, let's do it. Question 1. Is it okay for me to be offended that my friends refused to go to an allergy-friendly restaurant so that I could be included? The restaurant they picked had peanuts on the ground and I'm highly anaphylactic, which they all knew.
Get new friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, get new friends.
That is a real, I can understand that it would be a really like hard boundary to hold. I think that would be really hard to do, to just be like, okay, you're out. Let me find some new friends. Like, but I kind of have the same response. Those are not your friends. Like if they are refusing, it's one thing if they're like, I'm sorry, like this friend really said it's their favorite restaurant. It's their birthday. Like we want to celebrate this friend.
Totally.
This is where they want to go. It would be like, okay, I just won't come this time.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be, it's definitely situational.
Yes.
You do not always need to go to the allergy friendly restaurant, but if there are literal peanut shells on the floor,
that's a boundary.
It's not somebody's birthday, whatever. And you're consistently being left out.
Right. Or that they're just not even hearing you, that they're saying like, I refuse, like I will not go to that restaurant. We want to go here. They're telling you they don't want you to be safe. They're telling you they don't want you to be their friend.
They're telling you they don't want you to be there.
Right.
Yeah. I think if it were me in that scenario, I never lead with, can we go to a different restaurant?
Yeah.
I'm always like, hey, thank you so much for including me. I actually looked it up and they have peanut shells on the floor. It's one of those restaurants. Yikes. It's not going to be safe for me to go. Like, I'll just make it to the next one. 100 times out of 100 times are my friends going to be like, oh my gosh, so sorry. Didn't realize it. Like, yeah, let's go here instead. Is that good with you? Or like, no worries.
Yeah.
They genuinely just didn't know. But I'm not being like, hey, can we do something else for me?
Yeah.
I just already am being like, I am not going to be attending because there are peanut shells. And that's, if they are not, their response is not, again, situational.
Yeah.
Let's go someplace else. That would be, that's obviously no.
Right.
Then get new friends. Because here's the thing. Those are not your friends. And your real friends are waiting for you.
Yeah.
There are such incredible people out there who are going to be amazing allies to your health. They're going to want to take care of you. And this is like the smallest, most insignificant part about you. This is just going to be a part of it, but they're going to love you for all the other reasons that have nothing to do with your allergies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, short and sweet, but I think that is it. And while you're looking up the other question, I'll just say, I understand though that is like a super hard pill to swallow. And I really empathize with this person who like is going to have to, set those boundaries and really decide for herself. Like I maybe need to open up my world a little bit to try to find people who love me and care about me, because by the way, you are enough. You will find friends. You deserve to be like valued and taken care of. So don't let these assholes make you feel otherwise.
Yeah. And I also like, this doesn't need to be, at least from my perspective, I wouldn't be like, I'm not going to be friends with you anymore. Right. They're not even worth the conversation. I would just slowly, not even slowly, I would just make new friends or like start spending time with different friends and they'll get the picture. And if they ever ask, then you can be like, I don't really want to talk about it, but that one time, and actually it was more than just one time. Okay. Next question. Do you ever stop doubting yourself? Reactions are confusing and it's up to you on how to treat them. I feel as though every time my son has a reaction, I never feel 100% clear if it's a reaction or if I am overreacting. I know that there's no such thing as overreacting when it's your child's life, but our reactions are never cut and dry right away. For instance, today we had to epi our son after he ate something that he's had so many times before. He's not quite 3 years old yet, but within 10 minutes of eating, he seemed like he was struggling to breathe. So they ended up calling 911. They epied him. Everything was resolved, thankfully. Okay. That said, I was left feeling like, wait a minute, did I just see what I thought that I saw? Was it as bad as what I thought it was? This is all just so brutal. It's so hard. It's never crystal clear. And I'm not a medical professional. The paramedic today asked if I worked in healthcare, and I said, no, it has nothing to do with my work. I'm literally just a mom.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, I will just say, feel you. I feel that lady, that person that wrote in, because I feel that way every single time, which seems crazy because you're like, I
know all the signs.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm trained in this. Like, I live it every day. And still, like, even though you were there, you saw it, you trusted your gut, you did the right thing, people will tell you did the right thing. And still you're like, did I overreact? And I think that is just natural. Unfortunately, for some of us, I think that's just part of it. But I will say, from all of I'm not a doctor, but from all of the, allergists and medical professionals that I've ever interacted with, they have always said, like, if you are unsure, like if you even have an inkling, like I should probably use the EpiPen, use it, because it's not going to hurt you to not. Like the side effects of using epinephrine are not severe.
No,
it's
there
not
are
an
no
issue.
drawbacks,
right?
But there's a big risk to
if
not
you
using
don't.
it.
And timeliness is so key. People we've seen who've waited too long to use it, it doesn't work. It's not enough. And so I would say maybe refresh yourself on some of those stories that you feel a little bit better, about the decision you made. Like, I prevented anything else from happening, and try to boost yourself up that way. And also just know that I think that's very normal, like to question it. I would say, again, surround yourself with a few good people that kind of know what you're going through, like allergy mom friends, and have them help boost you up again too, because it is confusing. Nothing is black and white necessarily, but I will say, if it wasn't anything, you wouldn't have used it. Like, just believe in yourself,
Totally.
And you know what, if you hadn't used it and say it resolved without epinephrine and you just gave an antihistamine and it resolved, like, because I've done that where I've been like, okay, I should have used epinephrine. Like, people even said, like, you probably should have used epinephrine, and I didn't. For whatever reason, I didn't. But he was fine, right? Like, he didn't have any kind of crazy something else happen, or the worst thing happen, like, he was fine. So in some ways I'm like, yes, I could have used epinephrine, but I also like followed my gut in that I didn't think that I necessarily needed it. So I think it can go both ways. Like, you feel bad as a mom in general. I feel like you just feel bad no matter what you decide. Totally. Sometimes. So, like, all of this to say, I have felt the exact same way. I don't know that I have the best advice, but I just want you to know that, like, that's normal. You're not crazy to feel that way. I think we all second guess, and I wish it was more black and white, but it's just not.
Totally. From the non-mom perspective, like, I'm constantly, when anxiety and anaphylaxis are so similar in initial feelings or initial symptoms, I am constantly asking myself, like, should I epi? Like, but should I epi, or am I having a panic attack? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I feel like the thing that, I can't always be expected for my doctor to be able to answer me, but I find great solace, at least with OIT, that if something is happening, if it was bad enough, I absolutely would use it without reaching out first. But if I'm having a mild symptom and I reach out, and sometimes they're asking me to send photos or whatever, I find a lot of solace knowing, okay, at least I have a plan in place. Like, I have my plan. I'm going to use my best judgment. But at the same time, I have nurses and doctors that I can reach out to. So I don't know. I know every allergist practice is very different. But yeah, at the end of the day, I just want to give this person a hug, because we are all dealing with this, whether you're the one with the allergy or you're a caretaker of somebody with the allergy. And yeah, like, giving him the epi.
Like, you're amazing. You're
super amazing.
mom.
Like, that's an amazing thing that you were able to do that. Call 911, talk to the paramedics. They literally thought you were a medical professional, because we all kind of have to become one.
Yes, you handled it. You're a badass.
Yeah,
Like, pat yourself on the back.
Totally. Okay.
All right.
that's it.
That's it. Till next week.
We're holding a boundary. We're going to go get ice cream.
I have to go. Yeah. And I am going to go pick up my children. Actually, I'm excited. We're going to meet some friends tonight that I haven't seen in a really long time. So I'm excited about that.
For you.
But thank you so much to Larissa's Kitchen.
Yes.
Like to be presented by a company that cares so much about being certified free of the top 9 allergens, to be able to be like an option and a resource that people can trust. It's an honor.
I walked in and you literally were pulling one out of your purse. I was like, okay, what do you
want? An
okay
meat snack?
I was like, are you filming something? She's like, no, are you hungry? Do you want one? I was like, no. Sit down. What?
Sit down. Let's get the ball rolling.
Like now I am kind of hungry. I might take it.
Well, you can.
Okay,
I've got a couple more. I think it's the turkey one, which is really good, and it's different, you know? Like I'm not used to like a beef meat stick, but this one tastes like Thanksgiving.
I'm personally not big on beef, so the fact that they have chicken and turkey, I'm like, this was made for you and me. Yeah. Why am I singing so much today? I don't know. We will see you next Tuesday, and thank you also to Inch Vibe.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay.
We love you all. Okay.
Bye-bye.